today we are going to study the last block, that is block 4. In this, we are going to discuss the pricing decisions. And in block 4, we have 4 units, that is unit 10, 11, 12, and 13. Sorry. So today we are going to discuss unit 10, that is market structure and barriers to entry. In 11, we will be studying pricing under perfect competition and pure monopoly. Under unit 12, we will study pricing under monopolistic and oligopolistic competition. And under unit 13, we will be studying pricing strategies. So in this unit 10, we are going to study market structure and barriers to entry. You know, for pricing decisions, that is the one of the most important decisions made by managers. If the price set is too high, the firms will be unable to compete with other suppliers in the market. Similarly, if the price is too low, the firm may not be able to earn a normal rate of profit. So pricing is thus a crucial decision area which needs much of managerial attention. Yeah, so we will examine the factors that govern this particular key decision area, that is pricing decision. Now, what do we know from traditional economic theory? From traditional economic theory, we know that pricing decision depends upon demand and supply functions. According to that analysis, according to the traditional analysis, firms aim towards maximization of profit, that is number one. And second is the interplay of demand and supply in the market determines the price, which is also known as equilibrium price. But there are many other factors that influence the pricing decision of a firm. It is not that simple that why the demand and supply, if they are interacting with each other, then demand and supply are also influenced by other factors and they behave in that way, and then we go for equilibrium price. That is the thrust of this unit today. So there are many other factors that influence the pricing decision of the firms. They are number of firms in the industry, the nature of product, the possibility of new firms entering the market, and so on. Now, classification of markets, we have discussed what are the different types of markets and depending on what factors. So structure of a market depicts the existence of firms in a particular market and to what extent the firms constituting a specified market, that means the firms who are members of that market are functionally interrelated to each other or not. So the term market structure refers to the degree of competition prevailing in that particular market. So the power of an individual firm to control the market price by changing its own output determines the degree of competition, and this power varies inversely with the degree of competition. So that means higher the degree of competition, the lower is the market power of the firm. And similarly, lower is the degree of competition, then the higher is the market power of the firm. Market power is generally thought to be the ability of the firm to influence price. Now, we have to know about the structure hypothesis, that is known as SCP hypothesis. In microeconomics theory, this hypothesis states that the performance of a firm is determined by its conduct, which in turn is determined by the structure of the market in which it is operating. The performance and the conduct of a firm, they also vary from market to market. If the market is highly competitive, then the performance and conduct of the firm is different as compared to that of the market with little or no competition. For example, let us take the example of pricing behavior of firms in the fast moving consumer goods sector, where there are a large number of rivals, larger number of firms producing the consumer goods, but they are also rivals, and that market is entirely different from, let us say, pricing in the airline industry, where there are only few airlines are operating in that market. So depending on the number of firms or number of sellers producing a product, we can we can that can influence the pricing behavior. So the structure of a particular market plays an important role. Determinants like price, product differentiation, etc., are affected by the competitive structure of the market. The classification of markets in terms of their basic characteristics helps identify a limited number of market structures that can be used to analyze decision making. Okay, so now four characteristics have been the major four characteristics that are used to classify market structures are number and size distribution of sellers, number and size distribution of buyers, product differentiation, and conditions of entry and exit. These four are the four important concepts which influence the structure of the or which classify the market structure. Now, number and size distribution of the sellers. Ability to affect the price and the quantity of a product supplied to the market is related to the number of farms offering the same products. A large number of sellers or farms means the influence of any one farm is very less. If there are very few sellers in the market, then an individual farm has more power and can exercise greater control over price and total supply of the product. Number of farms can be classified into large number of farms, and few farms or few sellers, two farms or two sellers, and one farm. Second is that is second important factor for classifying the market structure is number and size distribution of buyers. Buyers are also equally important. Markets can be characterized by the number and size distribution of the buyers, where there are many small buyers of a product and all are likely to pay about the same price. If the buyers are small, they also can influence the price and they also can influence some power in the market. For example, automobile company in Gurgaon is one of the large automobile manufacturers and has considerable influence over the price at which it buys inputs such as glass, radiator caps, and accessories from other suppliers located in the region. That means here automobile company is the only buyer of glass radiator caps and accessories which are produced by other farms. So here that is there is only one buyer and it can influence the price level because it is the only buyer. This type of situation is known as monopsony power, or monopsony means that is a single buyer. So monopsony power in its buying decisions, that is a single buyer. In our example, this is the automobile company. But suppose there are large number of buyers in the market, then they will be unable to demand lower prices from sellers. They do not have any control over the market. Now, number three, that is product differentiation. If the products competing in the market are not identical or not homogeneous, they are said to be differentiated, and hence differentiation exists in the market. There is some amount of differentiation for almost all products that we buy in the markets. But generally for pure competition or perfect competition, we assume that all the commodities are homogeneous. That we discuss later on. But now, what is product differentiation? It can be in terms of packages, in terms of advertising, like soap, in terms of smells, in terms of perfumes, whether it is water lily or rose, like that. So ingredients in different soaps could be different as can be in packaging, advertisement. So in that, like suppose packaging is very attractive, then that product maybe inside thing is same, but that is a differentiated product. So basically some type of situations in which the products are deliberately differentiated, or the sellers try to project that their products are different, even superior to other products that is available in the market. That is the basic idea. Even sometimes seemingly homogeneous goods such as apples and bananas are at present. Nowadays you find in the market, there will be a stamp of Australia apples and there will be a stamp of that is Pennsylvania that is almonds. So some differentiated on the basis of orchards from which it is coming, like apple from orchards, like your badam that is coming from foreign countries, then that name will be there. Now that these things are also different, they also differentiate the products like khajur from Arab, then that is happening, that is a better khajur, even though the khajur inside the thing it will be same, it is not, it is homogeneous. Okay. Now, the degree of substitutability or product differentiation, that is known as degree of substitutability, it is measured by cross elasticity of demand between two competing products. Products can be classified into perfect substitutes or homogeneous. That means you cannot make out any difference between two products, or close substitutes like soaps of different brands, remote substitutes like radio and television, they are totally different, they are not substitute, radio is not substitute for television, and no substitute like cereal and soaps, there is no connection. For the perfect substitute for one consumer may not be so for another. It depends on the consumer, because perfect substitute or homogeneous product, I might say that all the khajus are looking same, so there is no difference. But another person who has a preference for brand, he will say no, the branded one is much more, is better, much better compared to the ordinary khajur. That is the example. Now the example here is given. Like suppose there are two products C and P. That is, Rahul may feel that product C and P are perfect substitute for him, whereas Sachin may have a strong brand preference for product P. So product differentiation is a basis for a lot of advertising that is seen in the media, where the focus is to create a strong brand preference for the product being advertised. Now, conditions of entry and exit. So, last one, that is the fourth one, is the most important one also. Conditions of entry and exit, that also determines the structure of the market or influences the power of the sellers. Entry or exit of farms to an industry refers to the, it can be defined as the difficulty or ease with which a new farm can enter or exit a market. In short run, where the capital of farms is almost fixed, entry and exit does not make much difference. Ease of entry and exit is, however, a crucial determinant of the nature of a market in the long run. Short run, it is not, condition of entry and exit doesn't influence much, but in the long run, nature of the market will be highly influenced by the ease of entry and exit of the other farms or new entrants. When it is difficult for the farms to enter the market in the long run, the existing farms will have much greater freedom or much greater power in pricing and output decisions than if they had to worry about the new entrants. Example, a pharmaceutical farm that has a patent on a particular drug. A patent is an exclusive right to market the product for a given period of time, say 10 years, 12 years, like that. In our example, book example, it is 12 years. If there are no close substitutes to that particular drug, the farm will be free from competition for duration of that patent, that is for 12 years. Thus, the barrier to entry in the market for these drugs are very high, and the farm can increase the price of the drug if it may think so. Now, Indian Railways is a kind of public monopoly. It's a public sector, but it's a monopoly. So here, no other sector, no other farms, no other farm has entered to the market. So it is a public monopoly. No new entrant can enter the market till now. But American multinational technology corporation, which produces computer software like Microsoft, that is one, and related services too, has also been able to create substantial entry barriers in the market, making it difficult for new firms to enter in the market. On the other hand, retail outlets, let us take the example of retail outlets and the restaurant business. They witness several new firms entering into the market periodically, implying that the entry barriers are relatively low. That means there must be some modalities so that the new entrants cannot enter into the market. That is true in case of monopoly, that is Indian Railways. Similarly, that is true in case of American multinational technology corporation like Microsoft. Now they are the dominant. Microsoft, Google, they are the Microsoft exactly, window, everything is under their control. So they can decide what should be the price or what should be the, and that defines the structure of the market also. So now these four, whatever we discussed now, four product differentiation, entry barriers, plus sellers and buyers, they define the structure of the market. Now again, basis on the basis of those factors, we can say markets are traditionally classified into four that you all know because usually we find that is perfect competition, monopoly, oligopoly, and monopolistic competition. Perfect competition and monopoly are theoretically very true. There are two extreme situations. In case of perfect competition, you find large number of buyers and sellers of an identical product or homogeneous product. Each member of the market, whether it is buyer or seller, it is so small that it doesn't have any influence, any control over the price of the product. They cannot influence the price of the products. Individual buyers and sellers are taken to be price takers. They have to buy the product at the prevailing price, and the farms have to sell the product at the prevailing price, and they can sell any quantity. Since there is free entry and exit, no farm can earn excessive profits in the long run. Okay, so now this is perfect competition one extreme. Let us go for the monopoly. It is a market situation in which there is just one producer producing a product. The farm has very much substantial control over the price. If the product is differentiated, and suppose the monopolists find that there are two different markets for the same product, that is product is differentiated and there is no threat of new farms entering the same business, a monopoly farm can manage to earn excessive profits over a long period. Now, third is monopolistic competition. Here, these two are extreme cases. Large number of buyers and sellers, number one, pure monopoly, sorry, perfect competition. In case of monopoly, there is only one seller and large number of buyers. Monopolistic competition, this term was coined by Chamberlain, E.M. Chamberlain. It implies that it is a market structure with a large number of farmers, obviously, large number of farmers, but they are selling differentiated products. All of them are selling, suppose Apple, or all of them are selling, say, suppose one particular product, but they are selling differentiated products. The differentiation may be real or is perceived so by the customers. Two brands of soaps may just be identical, but perceived by the customers as different on some fancy dimensions like freshness, smell, or you can say that way. Farms in such a market, that is monopolistic competition, have some control over price. By and large, they are unable to earn excessive profit in the long run. So, monopolists can earn excessive profit in the long run because nobody can enter into the market. Perfect competition cannot cannot have excessive profit in the long run because there is no barrier. Anybody can enter and anybody can exit because of the price structure also. In this case, monopolistic competition, though they have some control over price, they are unable to earn excessive profits in the long run. So in the whole structure, that is monopolistic competition structure, operates on perceived product, what you perceive. It depends on the customers. Perceived product differentiation, entry of new firms cannot be completely prevented. Hence, above normal profits can be earned only in the short run, but in the long run, it can attract other firms can enter into the market, and that excessive profit in the long run is not possible. Now let us come to the oligopoly. D, it is a market structure in which a small number of farms account for the whole industry's output. The product may or may not be differentiated. Example, only 5 or 6 farms in India constitute 100% of the integrated steel industry's output. All of them make almost identical products. On the other hand, passenger car industry with only 3 farms is characterized by market differentiation in products. Like you take Maruti Suzuki, then there is Tata, then there is very few nowadays imported foreign companies are coming. So the nature of product is such that very often one finds entry of new farms very difficult. So basically here the product may or may not be differentiated. Very few farms or very few sellers are there in the market. So it is characterized by the vigorous competition among themselves, where the farms manipulate both price and volumes of the output in an attempt to outsmart their rivals. Suppose 5 or 6 farms are working, like you take example of your mobile services. There is Tata Docomo, there is Jio, there is BSNL, there is Airtel Bharti. Only 4 to 5, they are competing among themselves. They are making the product very attractive, and they are luring the customers to buy their product, and in that way they can make profit. But here in this case, no generalization can be made about profitability scenarios. These market structures, so basically first two, that is perfect competition and imperfect competition, they are classified as your monopoly, oligopoly. Perfect competition is under perfect competition. Last, monopoly, oligopoly, and monopolistic competition, they are treated as special cases of market which are less than perfect. So they are known as imperfect market. So perfect market, perfectly competitive market, imperfect market. In imperfect market, we have monopoly, we have oligopoly, we have monopolistic competition. And perfect competition is theoretically possible. Monopoly is possible. Monopoly is a practical, it is possible, but perfect competition or pure competition is only theoretically possible. Now this is the table. Now here, perfect or pure competition, number of independent sellers large, number of seller concentration is non-existent, product differentiation no, that is homogeneous product, condition of entry is free or easy. Second, monopolistic competition, there it is also free or easy. Barrier to entry, that is condition of entry. Oligopoly, condition of entry is difficult. Duopoly, it is very difficult or impossible. In monopoly, it is totally barred or impossible. We are discussing about the barriers to entry or conditions of entry. Last column. Now regarding product differentiation, you find in case of perfect competition, homogeneous product. Monopolistic competition, products are close substitutes. Oligopoly, the product there may be homogeneous or close substitute. They may be differentiated. In duopoly, they may be homogeneous or close substitutes. Monopoly, there is hardly any, whatever the monopolies decide, that is the product. There is no kind of product differentiation is required. Now, seller concentration is very high in case of monopoly. Duopoly, it is high. In perfect competition, it is totally non-existent. Monopolistic competition, since I said there are a large number of sellers are there, so there is a low seller concentration. Oligopoly, since there are few independent sellers, so it is medium or high seller concentration. Now let us go to next, that is what are the factors that determine the nature of competition. Why the markets are behaving like this, or why the markets are they are the competition is becoming, what are the factors on the basis of which we can say the competition is becoming like this: perfect competition, imperfect competition, etc. The buyer would control the price. He will dictate how much to buy from whom. The entire price volume decision takes on a different qualitative dimension. Product features and characteristics, the nature of production systems, the possibility of new entrant, that is barrier to the entry in a market, have profound impact on the competitive behavior of farm in a market. So the entry or barriers to entry of new farms, barrier to entry of new farms has a special relevance in business behavior. Now the effect of buyers. Now buyers, we discussed about only one buyer, that is monopsony. Similarly, the situation can also exist in a local labor market where a single large farm is the only provider of jobs for the people in the vicinity, that is the only seller or only provider. Then that type of situation, that is known as oligopsony. That is known as oligopsony. Then there are examples in the books, explosive industry, that you can go through the book and find out what are the examples. There are about 10 farms in the industry. That example, CIL example, I have written it here, but you can go through the book. Now, most industries manufacturing heavy equipment in India are typically dominated by a few manufacturers and few buyers, with the government being the major buyer. So if there are few sellers and few buyers, and government is one of the major buyers, in this type of situation, there is something called that happens, that is negotiation across the table rather than the operation of any market forces. Because here the price and volume determination, price and volume of output can be determined through negotiation process, because the members in the whole market, including buyers and sellers, are not many. They often know each other. In other situations like the consumer goods, you find that there are a lot of farms, lot of consumers, large number of consumers, so they do not have any direct contact with their customers. Now, production characteristics, that is minimum efficient scale of production in relation to the overall industry output and market requirement, that is MES, that plays a major role in shaping the market structure. MES is the minimum scale of output that is necessary for a farm to produce in order to take advantages of economies of scale. Example, the minimum efficient scale for an automobile farm is very high. If only 100 cars are produced, suppose, in a capital intensive automobile plant, that is more capital is used there, the average cost will be very high there, because it is a capital intensive industry. While a larger volume of cars will allow the fixed cost to be spread over a number of cars. You already know about fixed cost and variable cost, thus reducing average costs and increasing the minimum efficient scale. So MES for a service firm such as a travel agent will accordingly be relatively small. So minimum efficient scale also plays an important role in shaping the market structure. The reason why there are no more than say around 10 integrated steel plants even in an advanced country like US is can be partly explained by economies of scale and thus MES. Now, since the minimum economic size of such a steel plant is few million tons, the entire world steel industry can have no more than 100 efficient and profitable farms. Thus, every country has only a handful of steel plants. On the other hand, the other products which are dependent on, which are being provided to the steel plants, like rolling mills, which take the steel bars as an input, or they require the steel as a product, as an intermediate product. There, see, if there are number of large farmers, large number of farmers are there, so MES or minimum efficient size comes down considerably in that case. The minimum size does not remain constant, but changes drastically with technological advancement. When technical changes push up the economic size of a plant, one notices that the number of farms decline over time. Conversely, technological innovations may make it possible for smaller sized plants to become economically viable. Okay, now they can take the example from the book. Factors like the availability of the required raw materials, skilled labor, etc., can also mold market structure. Enough skilled workers are not available to work on the sophisticated machines. That is a problem. These factors sometimes restrict the production or restrict the output and push up the prices, even though adequate market potential for expansion exists. So, even though the market potential is there, it can be expanded, but there is a lack of skilled labor. So lack of availability of raw material is also another factor which can influence the market structure. Now let us come to the product characteristics. Product differentiation, we have already mentioned about it. If a farm's product is perceived as having unique features, it can command a premium price and the farm is said to possess market power. You can take the example of luxury cars. Now that is the ultimate in automobile industry and therefore it commands a high price. Consumers are willing to pay that premium for that product. The degree of competition faced by luxury cars is thus very low. So it depends upon characteristics of the product. Luxury product, there is a one type of product. Then there that it can command, it has a control over price. or it has control over the market. Similarly, let us go to IRCTC, Indian Railways Catering and Tourism Operation. It has the monopoly in railways. So people are just dependent. People have to spend money there. People cannot spend money on any other thing which is just like railways. Here is a monopolist. So what will happen in railway ticket booking? Whatever price they are offering, we have to take it. Thus, the market for railway services is not competitive in the sense that only one corporation provides the service. So, on the other hand, a product like soap or detergents, there are many firms producing a large variety of substitutable products. Therefore, you find that there is more competition in the detergent market. The physical characteristics of the product also can influence the competitive structure of the market. The distribution cost also a major element in the cost of a product, then their competition would be localized. Similarly, for perishable products, the competition is invariably local. There is hardly any competition because perishable goods are going to be perished within a day or two, like vegetables and all. So the product characteristics is also another equal component influencing the market structure. Now, let us talk elaborately about conflict between physical characteristics and minimum economic size. Okay, let us take the case of a product like cement. For reasons of minimizing the transport costs on raw materials, most cement plants in the country are located near mine sites. A large efficient plant near a mine site can manufacture cement at the optimum cost, but the local demand is never large enough. So you see, though it can produce at the optimum cost, it cannot sell it in the market because there is no demand for that product in the vicinity of that area. So in this situation, what happens? It has to sell the product in far away markets like Gujarat, Kerala. So the transport cost will be very high. Customers located in such areas will always buy cement at a much higher price. The government partly offset this by using the mechanism of levy price, which is same throughout the country, or that you are saying MRP like that, but you are not getting at a lower rate. Now, what are the different structural variables? Number of independent sellers and buyers, large, few, two or one, that we discussed. Degree of sellers concentration, that also we discussed. Non-existent, low, medium and high. Product differentiation, perfect substitutes or homogeneous, close substitutes, remote substitute, no substitutes. Conditions of entry, free or easy, difficult entry, entry barred or impossible. Now let us come to the interesting part, that is the barriers to entry. In practical field, what happens? There are few farms, they are always competing among themselves. So they do not want other newcomers to enter into the market. So there are different strategies are available there. So those strategies are taken up by the farms. Sometimes nature of the market is such that also they cannot enter. There are different we can explain it in different ways. So market selection process includes farms entry, its survival, and finally exit process. Finally, exit process. If the farm is entering, it has to survive. And if it cannot survive, it has to exit the market. Okay, so the selection and expansion depends how efficient the farm is. The efficient farm enter and the inefficients are, they will be exiting the market. Now, conditions of entry. What happens here is that sometimes it is so difficult, the conditions are such that you cannot enter into the market. The entry of a new farm in an industry or a market depends on the ease with which it can enter. If we see the long-term perspective, the number of farms and the degree of seller concentration depends on the conditions of entry. If it is free entry, then the number of sellers is large in number, and in case of restricted entry, the number of sellers tend to reduce. In the long run, the degree of competition depends on the conditions of entry. A new entry can bring good things to the market also. What are those? It brings the following advantages. That is, it provides new goods and services. It changes the balance between different sectors. It comes with new technological and managerial techniques. it increases opportunities. So if new entrants are entering into the market, then that is good for the market. But there are barriers. What are the factors determining the conditions of entry? The following are, that is, legal barriers, initial capital cost, vertical integration, optimum scale of production, product differentiation. These are the different factors on the basis of which the newcomers are barred from entering into the market. First is legal barriers. Almost all countries, you know, that is patent law. Patent law means there is set of rules and regulation you have to follow. Now, under this law, no firm other than the patent holder, that the example we gave last, that is the 12 years patent. So in this case, what happens? No firms other than the patent holder or the licensed firm is allowed to make use of the process. Then no firms can enter. That is simple. India has its own legal barriers, and it has also like industrial licensing regulation and reservation of products which restrict entry and thus protect the incumbent firm from competition. The incumbent means the existing firms. Those who are existing, they will be there, they will be protected by the legal barriers. That means other firms cannot enter into that market due to legal reasons, patent law or licensing law, factors, etc. Second situation is that in which situation also it is difficult for the newcomers to enter, that is initial capital cost. The industries like those industries which are producing basic inputs like coal, steel, power, etc., the initial capital cost is very high to produce those goods. Therefore, it becomes very difficult for new entrepreneurs to enter. So if the industries where the capital requirement is very high, only the big companies are entering that, there everybody can. All anybody who wants to enter cannot enter. In industry where the capital requirement is high, the market is dominated by few firms, whereas for industries such as non-durable consumer goods, the initial capital cost is less compared to the coal steel industries. And here the number of firms in the market can be quite large. Next is vertical integration. That is also another strategy on the by the existing farms, so that new farms cannot enter into their market. A vertical integrated farm is the one where that produces raw material and intermediate products as well as the final products. That is raw material or intermediate product as well as the final product. Both are being supplied by the farm. That is a vertical integration of the product. Example are sale, steel plants, Tisco, D-Mart, supermarket chain. Entry in this type of markets is restricted to limited producers, as here the existing producers produces raw material or an intermediate product along with the final product. New entrants will find that their capital requirements are high, and hence it will not be easy for them to enter into the market. Now, optimum scale of production means the scale of our output at which the long run average cost of production is minimum. This is the minimum efficient scale of production. If the optimum scale of output for any product is quite large, then in that case, the new entrants will find it difficult. Similarly, product differentiation. This we have already discussed. That I am not going to discuss because of paucity of time. Now you can read this from the book. What are the conditions by implementing widespread product differentiation? This is an example of a retail outlet or company where it has virtually stopped the new farms from entering into the market. So by establishing an entry barrier, a farm not only preserves its market share, but could also increase its market share. So an example of an entry barrier is advertising expenditure by farms. This example, that is a barrier to entry example, I am not going through that, is Coca-Cola and Pepsi. That is an advertisement on soft drink, Coca-Cola and Pepsi. So what happens here? Another company is coming to the market, then it will have to equally good soft drink as well as with the same amount of cost. It is rarely impossible. So barrier to entry exists when the new firms cannot enter into the market. Okay. Entry barriers, natural barriers, legal barriers, and strategic barriers. Natural barriers are due to existence of substantial economies of scale, then economies of scale, technological progress. All these technological progress actually undermines the natural monopoly of certain industries. This results in the existence of natural monopoly. Natural barriers are actually they lead to natural monopoly, existence of natural monopoly. So natural barrier, legal barriers, we have already discussed it a little bit. Strategic barriers, here actually what happens, that is due to the exclusively due to the strategic behavior of the existing farms. The existing farms do not want the others to enter into the market, so they do their strategy in such a way that the new farms cannot enter into the market. So what do they do? The managers undertake investments to deter entry by raising the rivals entry cost. The rival means those who are going to enter the new farms, their cost will be higher. To bar or restrict the entry of a new entrant, an established farm may change the price lower than the short-term profit maximizing farm. That is known as limit pricing. It will reduce the price than the short run, which is less than the short-term profit maximizing farm. So limit pricing, that is known as limit pricing, depends on established farm taking a cost advantage over potential entrants or new entrants. The established farm must have a long run average cost curve below that of the other farm in order to lower its price and continue to make an economic profit. This is the graph here. Long run average cost curve, that is 60 is the price, and the number one, that is a potential entrant. For the potential entrant, that is long run average cost curve is above 60. And look at the second one, that is the price is when price is 100, then MC is equal to MR, long run marginal cost, that is equal to MR, then that is actually 50,000 output. And 50,000 output, we find that price at 80, the consumer, the producer can sell 50,000 output. Now again look at this long run average cost curve that is going through, that is MR, and you find that here instead of 100, that was the earlier profit was 100 into 50, 100 into, yes, and the next was 80 into 50, and minus the cost. Let us go through the example figure. Okay, so now the demand and marginal revenue cost are given, LRSC, that is these are the LRSC, LRSCE, LRMCE. Now to maximize profit, that is pi, that is equal to 50,000 unit of output, where marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost, and fix a price of 100 from the demand curve. So 100 minus 80 into 50,000, that is 10 lakhs. Suppose that this farm sets the price at rupees 90 for say 70,000 units of output. Now look at this, 70,000 units of output. Now the price is becoming your 70. Here in the A part, you find that the price is 60 and long run average cost curve of the new entrant is over the price 60. Now look at this second one, that is here 100 minus 80, that is here 80, 80 is the 50, that is 100 minus 80 multiplied by 50,000, that is 10,000. The established farm is actually trying to reduce, that is 90, and to the price is reduced to 90 and output increased to 70,000 units. Now the new entrants would not be able to cover the average cost, as it would be making loss. Look at this. Now the profit for the existing farm is 90 minus 80 is equal to 7 lakhs. Now here this profit, second profit is less than, this is the economic profit. This is the less than the earlier profit, abnormal profit, original profit. But if you look at the practical point, we found that even if the established farm incurs a loss, the sales of the farm can be increased, that is 70,000. In the future, regarding increase in the future regarding the difficulties posed for the new entrant. The lower profit would be higher had the new farm entered the market and would have taken away some share of the sales from the established farm. This example shows that entry limit pricing is not feasible without the cost advantage, or not feasible without the cost disadvantage. Building excess capacity, that is another way to restrict the entry. To build and maintain excess capacity over and above the required amount. Required amount is suppose 70,000. The company will produce 1 lakh units and keep it with it so that you can sell it later. This poses a threat to the new entrant, delivering the fact that the established firm is prepared to increase the output and lower the price if and when the entry occurs. The existing farms will produce them and keep it with them. When a new farm enters, they will try to sell those products at a lower price. Then it is very difficult for the new farm to enter. The excess capacity can be built up easily as it takes a longer time for the new entrant to build a factory of such capacity. This type of barrier is also building excess capacity barrier is also known as capacity barrier to entry. Now, producing multiple products, economies of scope arises when cost of producing two or more goods together is less costly than producing the two goods separately. We discussed this a little bit in the last unit. I don't remember in which unit, but we have discussed it a little bit. That is new product development, that is product producing substitutes for its own product in the market, can discourage the entry of new firms. For example, a consumer good company producing different types of soaps targeted to different consumer base. The more the number of substitutes, the lower and more elastic is the demand for any given product in the market. This makes the entry of new firms more difficult. Now let us take the example of Microsoft. Every personal computer laptop that we buy or we come across is actually Microsoft Windows compatible. You have to use Microsoft Windows. The PC cannot work without Windows. By developing industry level standards, Microsoft has created high switching cost, that is known as high switching cost. That means for the new entrant, it is very difficult to produce something like Microsoft Windows and then sell the laptop or sell the PC in the market because the cost will be very high. Now, what will happen? The PCs cannot work without Windows. So this is known as switching cost or high switching cost. The entrant, if new entrant, if it is switching to the production, then it is going to incur loss. Now, strategic entry barriers further discussion. I discussed there are different barriers: legal entry, product entry. Out of all these, strategical barriers are much more important because here the farms or the managers are very much concerned about their profit and their output. Although all companies strive to develop one form of competitive advantage or another, relatively few are persistently successful over long periods. Innovative activity is almost always followed by waves of imitation, and relatively few fast movers are able to maintain their initial market position. Now here, now the example, one of the example, that is case study that is there in the book, but I am not going into that. The simple truth is that most large-scale expenditures designed to create competitive advantage are unlikely to realize a return unless that advantage is sustained. Now, economists think about this problem, that strategic problem, as one of creating or strategically exploiting barriers to entry or mobility barriers. Entry barriers, as defined above, are structural features of a market that enable incumbent companies, that is existing companies, to raise prices persistently above costs without attracting new entrants. And then that way, you will be losing the existing firms will be losing a little bit of market share, but still it is profitable by not allowing others to enter. Entry barriers protect companies inside a market from imitators in other industries. Entry barriers give rise to persistent differences in profits. Although all sources of entry fall into one of these three, entry barrier fall into one of the three following categories, that is product differentiation advantages, absolute cost advantages, and scale related advantages. This I have discussed a little bit, that is product differentiation advantages. You just go through it. We have already discussed it in some form or other. That means basically many, I'll just read the underlined one. It is very hard to understand how this might come about because consumers will always try to prefer the lower price variant of two otherwise identical product. What the way here the do it will do, when buyers distinguish between the product of one company from that of another, and are willing to pay a price premium to get the variant of their choice. Now here such differences become entry barriers whenever imitators, whether they be new entrants or companies operating in other niches of the same market, cannot realize the same prices for an otherwise identical product. But from the consumer point of view, we can say it is a consumer always prefer, it will prefer lower priced variants. However, if it is costly for the consumers to change from purchasing one product to purchasing another, then prices for otherwise identical products can differ for long periods of time. Economists call costs of this type as switching costs, which we discussed in case of Microsoft also. And business managers always try to create switching costs by locking consumers into their product. The consumers will be buying their products only. Habit formation is an obvious source of switching cost, and many marketing campaigns are designed to reinforce the purchasing patterns of existing customers and raise their resistance to change. Further, many consumers sink cost into gathering information about new products, and once they have made a choice that satisfied them, they are likely to resist making further movements. Now, switching costs also arise when consumption involves the purchase of highly specific complementary products that lock consumers into existing purchasing patterns. Okay, now this is the idea about your switching cost. Then absolute cost advantage, that is also another way of looking at the barriers to entry. There are many sources of absolute cost advantages. Investment in R&D, learning by doing in production can be important in many sectors, and they can occasionally be protected by patents. Privileged access to scarce resources, that is also another way for enjoying the cost advantages. It can open up substantial differences in costs between companies producing identical products. Similarly, many companies vertically integrate vertical integration of upstream to integrate upstream to assure control over limited natural resources, or downstream to assure access to the most valuable distribution channels. Next is scale related advantages. That is, they create the most subtle form of entry barriers. They arise whenever a company's costs per unit fall as the volume of production and scales increase. Say and sales increase. Sorry. Economies of scale in production, you know that is created by set of costs, are the most familiar source of scale advantages, but economies can also scale economies can also arise in distribution. The important implication of scale advantages is that they impede small scale entry. If costs halve as production doubles, then a small entrant will have costs per unit twice as high as incumbent twice its size. Since it is unlikely that such an entrant will be able to differentiate its product enough to justify a price difference of this size, it must either enter at a scale similar to that of the existing firm or not enter at all. So these are those type of situations. Scale related advantage is also another way to look at this. Then again we have sunk costs, squeezing entrants and raising rival costs. These are also different strategies for entry barriers. Now, in addition to those strategies, there are other strategies like sunk cost, squeezing entrants, and raising rival costs. Right? You are raising the cost of production of the rival. That also can be done by the farms, existing farms, to avoid or to restrict the new entrants from entering to the market. Now, squeezing entrants, the second one, that is squeezing entrants. Yes, here it is usually all but impossible. Sometimes you cannot deter all the newcomers not to enter. So what happens in this situation? The capable entrants, they enter into the market. Now here, what will happen is that the squeezing strategy is taken up. Squeezing strategy usually build on scale economies that prevent small scale entry by forcing entrants to incur even more fixed cost. They will have to incur more fixed cost, now which increases their minimum scale of entry. Further, if these fixed costs are also sunk cost, then these activities also increase the risks associated with entry. Now we can go to, that is an example. Shell, we can go through the like Reliance market or any market, you can find this situation. Now raising rivals cost, that is advertising is a fixed cost. Similarly, market growth is an important stimulus to entry, since it automatically creates room for the entrant. Now in this situation, what will happen is that the existing farms will escalate advertising, and indeed this is a very frequent response to entry by incumbents. The interesting feature of this strategy is that an advertising war will also raise the incumbents' costs. Advertising war among these existing farms will increase the cost of the incumbent existing farms, but at the same time, it will bar the new entrants to come into the market. Okay, so these are the what matters is that the company that successfully deters entry. The result is that matters is that a company that successfully deters entry will preserve its profits, while a company that has not been able to deter entry will see its market position and the profits that it generates and gradually disappear. So it cannot stay in the market, it could not survive in the market, then it will exit the market. Now, pricing analysis of markets. Pricing is an important function of all firms. We have already discussed that. That is, in case of extreme cases, that the firm has no say in pricing of the products, because there prevails perfect competition in the market. Otherwise, in large number of cases, the pricing factor is very important. You know the law of supply, you know the law of demand. So setting the right price for its product is crucial for any firm in the market. This is because price is such a parameter that it exerts a direct influence on the demand for and supply of the product, and thereby on its sales and profit, the important yardsticks for the success or failure of the farm. You know, if price is too high, then seller cannot sell it. Now this example from the book. Now here you find that the market equilibrium price is due to demand supply curve, and it is determined by demand and supply of that product. So that is the equilibrium price is 3, and quantity demanded is 150,000 suppose. Now the factors, if this is the situation, then the factors which affect either demand or supply are also the determinants of price. Indirectly, we can say. That means a change in demand or supply would bring a change in price. So the factors affecting supply, factors affecting demand also change the price. So in this case, price is determined by other factors influencing the level of demand curve. Suppose we assume that the supply curve is fixed, then factors influencing the demand curve will influence the price. Similarly, suppose we say that the demand for the good is fixed, then in that case, the supply curve will be changed, or the factors influencing the supply curve will change the supply curve and will change the price. Let us look at the two diagrams. Here in this case, increase in demand is increasing price as well as the quantity demanded, supply remaining fixed. Similarly, decrease in demand is decreasing the price and quantity demanded and supply remaining fixed. Now, similarly, we can go for the supply plan. If the demand factor is fixed, then we can go for the what is the situation in case of supply. Now, here you find that this is the demand is remaining constant, supply is going further, that is price is reduced, and demand remaining same, and the quantity is increased here. Now, in the right hand side, you find that that is in the graph, that is supply is shifting to the left, the price is high, and quantity demand, quantity equilibrium amount of quantity is becoming less, available less. A large farm may produce a number of products which are sold in variety of markets catering to the needs of different sections of the society. Now let us take the example of fast moving consumer goods FMCG, which produces products ranging from cosmetics to food products. Here comes the real task to be performed. At times, it happens that price set for one of such products may affect the demand for the other products sold by the same farms. Okay. Now, this is the example we have taken here. It is very difficult to set a price of multiple products, but once it is set, the products make their own price place in the market. Now, this is the example list of products by FMCG, and you find that what is happening, that is a list of they are producing different types of different variations of the products, and they are producing like oral care, skin care, hair care, body care, color cosmetics, beauty and personal care products. They are producing everything. Similarly, soap and detergent, they are producing soaps for personal care, fabric wash, household care, etc. Similarly, food beverages, they are producing different types of products. Now, we can say that here we did an attempt that to understand the concept of market structure and the impact it has on the competitive behavior of the farm. Various competitive market situations we discussed. The number of farms and product differentiation also we discussed, because they are the crucial determinants of the nature of competition. The level of competition also gets influenced by the number of sellers, buyers behavior, characteristics of the product, etc. Barriers to entry is found to be a major strategy by the existing firms. The pricing analysis of marketing helps to understand how the equilibrium price is determined by the interaction of demand and supply. As I told that demand remaining fixed, supply factors affecting supply will affect price, and similarly price supply remaining fixed, factors affecting demand will also affect the price. This much. Thank you. Next, see you next class tomorrow. That we will be discussing two markets, that is perfect competition and monopoly. Thank you.